Nirvana, an American rock band formed in 1987 in Aberdeen, Washington. The band consisted of Kurt Cobain, Chris Novoselic, and Dave Grohl. Nirvana is often credited as one of the most influential and important bands in the history of alternative rock and grunge music. Their second album, Nevermind, released in 1991, propelled them to worldwide fame with hits like Come As You Are and Smells Like Teen Spirit. Despite their short-lived career due to Cobain's tragic death in 1994, Nirvana's music continues to be highly regarded and influential to this day. Today we're going to be talking about the tragic final days of Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain, the enigmatic frontman of Nirvana, found himself navigating the tumultuous waters of fame and personal turmoil in the early months of 1994. As the world eagerly awaited the release of Nirvana's highly anticipated album, tensions brewed beneath the surface of Kurt's seemingly ideal life. Amidst the backdrop of Nirvana's rising success, Kurt's relationship with his wife, Courtney Love, faced mounting challenges. Their love, once fiery and passionate, had become strained underneath the weight of fame, addiction, and the pressure of celebrity life. In January, Kurt retreated into a cocoon of creativity, pouring his soul into the recording studio as Nirvana worked tirelessly on their final studio album, In Utero. However, the strain of constant touring and the demands of fame took their toll on Kurt. By February, whispers of Kurt's struggles with addiction began to circulate within the music industry. Rumors swirled about the erratic behavior and deteriorating mental health, casting a shadow over Nirvana's impending album release and the band's future. In an effort to escape the suffocating pressure of fame, Kurt sought solace in Rome, checking into the lavish Hotel Excelsior on March 3, 1994. His decision to flee Seattle was met with mixed reactions from friends and family who voiced their concerns about his well-being. In Rome, Kurt's days were spent wandering the ancient streets, seeking inspiration amidst the city's timeless beauty. Yet beneath the veneer of tourist attractions and romantic gestures, Kurt grappled with the inner demons that threatened to consume him. It had been 26 days since they had last seen each other, the longest span since the relationship had started. However, Courtney's delayed arrival and Kurt's growing sense of isolation only exacerbated his feeling of despair. In a desperate bid to salvage their crumbling relationship, Kurt embarked on a whirlwind tour of Rome, collecting trinkets and tokens of affection for Courtney. From stolen candlesticks at the Vatican to lavish diamond earrings, Kurt spared no expense in his quest to win back Courtney's love. But Courtney did not arrive back at the hotel until late that night. She had been doing press with her band, Hole, for her new and upcoming album. Yet despite his grand gestures, Kurt's fell flat on their face. After their reunion, they finally got some alone time and the two started making out. Due to traveling all day, Courtney soon fell asleep. The next morning, Courtney found Kurt unconscious on the floor with blood coming out his nose and $1,000 of cash sitting in his hand. Courtney quickly called the front desk and an ambulance soon arrived at the hotel to take Kurt to the hospital. He was legally declared dead due to the 60 Rifno pills that he had taken. After his stomach had been pumped, he soon began to develop a slight pulse. Doctors told Courtney that he was in a coma and had a chance of recovering with brain damage. 20 hours later, Kurt showed his first signs of life. Courtney was sitting next to him while Kurt was stuck in a hospital bed with tubes in his mouth. Courtney handed him a notepad to talk, and the first thing Kurt wrote down was "F you," followed by "Get these f***ing tubes out of my mouth." In a moment of clarity amidst the chaos, Kurt realized that his problems could not be solved by material possessions or grand gestures. The split between him and Courtney seemed insurmountable, and Kurt's fragile grasp on reality began to slip. On March 12th, the police received a call from a Lake Washington house, but they were later hung up on. Later, the police arrived at Kurt's house with Courtney answering the door, explaining how everything was okay and that they had previously gotten into a fight, but everything was under control. Kurt later explained to the police that he had a stressful marriage and they needed to get counseling. There were multiple other instances, like on March 18th when Kurt locked himself into his bedroom while Courtney tried to kick down the door but was unsuccessful. She later called 911 claiming that Kurt was suicidal. When police later arrived, Kurt explained how he just wanted to get away from Courtney. The police confiscated 3 of Cobain's guns and took Kurt downtown but never officially booked him. By late March, Kurt's mental health had deteriorated to a breaking point. Friends and family watched helplessly as he spiraled further into addiction and depression, fearing that they were losing him to the darkness. In a last-ditch effort to save Kurt from himself, an intervention was staged on March 25, 1994. As the intervention unfolded, loved ones gathered in a somber but determined atmosphere. The living room was filled with a thick tension as each person took their place, ready to confront Kurt about his addiction. His sister Sarah held back tears as she recounted the countless nights spent worrying about him. His best friend Mike spoke of their shared memories tarnished by Kurt's struggles with substance abuse. His parents, visibly distraught, pleaded with him to seek help before it was too late. Despite their heartfelt pleas, Kurt initially reacted with a mix of anger and defiance. He lashed out, insisting that he had everything under control, that his drinking was just to cope with the pressure of fame and success. But as the intervention progressed and more voices joined in, Kurt's facade began to crack. His bandmates shared their concerns about his increasingly erratic behavior on tour, citing instances where substance abuse had jeopardized their performances. His mentor, a seasoned musician who had witnessed Kurt's talent firsthand, spoke of his disappointment at seeing it squandered by addiction. Amidst the emotional turmoil, Kurt's wife Courtney stepped forward with her infant daughter in her arms. Tears streamed down her face as she implored him to think about their family, to consider the impact his addiction was having on their daughter's future. In that moment, something shifted within Kurt. The weight of their collective concern bore down on him, breaking through the haze of denial that had clouded his judgment for so long. He saw the pain in the eyes of those he loved most, the anguish caused by the self-destructive behavior. With a heavy heart and tear-stained cheeks, Kurt finally relented. He agreed to seek help, to confront his demons head-on and embark on the journey towards recovery. It was a moment of raw vulnerability, a last-ditch effort to save himself from the abyss of addiction. As the intervention came to a close, a sense of hope lingered in the air. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but for the first time in a long while, Kurt felt a glimmer of optimism, a flicker of determination to reclaim his life from the grip of addiction. Away from the constant scrutiny of the public eye, Kurt found solace within the serene confines of the rehabilitation center. Surrounded by a supportive network of counselors and fellow patients, he delved deep into the intricate layers of his psyche, unraveling the complexities of his struggles. Through intensive therapy sessions, Kurt navigated the tumultuous terrains of his emotions, confronting buried traumas and unearthing roots of his addiction. The detoxification process was difficult, yet Kurt remained determined to overcome the grip of substance abuse. Under the vigilant care of medical professionals, he embarked on a physical cleanse, purging his body of toxins accumulated over the years of self-destructive behavior. Each day brought new challenges, but also newfound resilience as Kurt committed himself wholeheartedly to the path of recovery. In the quiet moments between therapy sessions, Kurt found himself reflecting on the life he had once led and the person he aspired to become. With each passing day, he rediscovered his passion for music, channeling his inner turmoil into lyrics that resonated with raw authenticity. The creative process became a form of catharsis, allowing Kurt to express himself in ways he had never before imagined. However, the road to recovery was far from smooth. Kurt's withdrawal symptoms were severe both physically and emotionally. He grappled with intense cravings and the weight of his past traumas. Despite the support of his counselors and loved ones, the specter of relapse loomed large. Inside the rehabilitation center, Kurt battled not only addiction but also the profound loneliness and isolation that often accompanied it. Despite being surrounded by people who cared for him, he wrestled with feelings of alienation and despair. Tragically, Kurt's time in rehab would be short-lived. Just days after checking into the facility, he fled against medical advice. The allure of drugs proved to be too powerful to resist, and he returned to Seattle where he would spend his final days. After leaving rehab, Kurt returned to the familiar streets of Seattle, seeking refuge in the comforts of his own home. However, his escape from the rehabilitation center did not signify the newfound freedom from his demons. Instead, it plunged him deeper into the abyss of addiction and despair.
Rock band Nirvana committed suicide today. Kurt Cobain reportedly shot himself in the head at his home near Seattle.
Records has today confirmed that Nirvana lead singer Kurt Cobain is dead.
Nirvana leader Kurt Cobain, an extraordinarily gifted singer, songwriter, and guitarist, was found dead in Seattle on Friday morning, apparently a suicide.
On April 8, 1994, tragedy struck. Kurt Cobain's body was discovered in his home in Seattle by an electrician who had arrived to install security lighting. He had died of self-inflicted gunshot wounds to the head with a shotgun found resting on his chest. The news of Kurt's death sent shockwaves throughout the world, leaving fans, friends, and family mourning. His passing marked the premature end to a musical icon, leaving behind a legacy of brilliance tinged with tragedy.